it be great if in the future you could predict when a vehicle is going to break down and have the opportunity to service it before trouble occurred? Now just think how happy your customers would be, and imagine the business you could generate for your shop. Well, at least as far as belts and hoses are concerned, the future is today. Failure of these rubber products is the third most common cause of roadside breakdowns. And most of these situations could have been avoided if only someone would have done a thorough inspection the last time the vehicle was in for service. Replacing worn belts and hoses protects your customers from the inconvenience and damage that can be caused by roadside breakdowns. And it also generates increased sales and respect for your shop. All right, let's take a few minutes to see how this is done. The more you know about automotive rubber products, the better equipped you'll be to explain to customers why their vehicle might be a candidate for belt and hose service. Today's belts and hoses are expected to operate under the extreme conditions found in a vehicle's engine compartment. And while most of the other components under the hood are made of some type of metal, special tasks requiring a flexible yet durable and cost-effective material are usually handled by rubber products. Some of rubber's natural enemies are temperature extremes, which make it brittle, and contaminants such as oil and grease, which soften it and cause it to swell. Coolant and even ozone in the atmosphere can cause rubber to weaken. Where are you most likely to find all these at once? In the engine compartment. Now, your customers may not be aware that tired or worn hoses can give out at any time. Use this consumer brochure to help make the point that these items are scheduled to be replaced. Now, the key to selling belts and hoses is getting the chance to inspect your customer's vehicle for problems. When should you recommend an inspection? As often as possible. For instance, on vehicles over 2 years old, belts and hoses should be checked at least every 6 months or 6,000 miles. Of course, belts and hoses should be inspected when the radiator is flushed and also when having the air conditioning checked or recharged. Customers in your shop during the hot summer months will appreciate your suggesting an inspection prior to that long vacation trip. And finally, vehicles with oil or coolant leaks should have belts and hoses checked for possible contamination. Well, now that you've sold the customer on having an inspection done, you need to know what to look for. And while the compounds that make up modern belts and hoses are very complex, diagnosing problem parts is relatively easy. Let's look at belts first. Noisy belts are giving a clear signal that something is wrong. Now, in some cases, belts may not have to be replaced. Perhaps the pulleys are improperly aligned, or the belt tension is incorrect. Visual clues that a belt is ready to fail include cracking, peeling, or missing bits of rubber. Belts that have been exposed to oil, grease, or engine coolant will soften and over time break. They'll have to be replaced. Glazing on the sides of a V-belt is caused by too little tension. The belt slides in the pulley, creating friction and generating heat that can literally fry the lubricant off component bearings. Now, this heat doesn't do the belt any good either. It makes the rubber hard and brittle. Glazed belts need to be replaced. And belts 2 years old or older may look good, but inside, they've had enough. The same goes for belts with over 30,000 miles, regardless of age. Hoses also provide some visual clues as to their health. Cracked or bulging hoses can fail at any moment. Hoses that have hardened due to exposure to heat are also prime candidates for replacement. As with belts, the structure of hoses contaminated by oil or grease will weaken over time. They should also be replaced. Damaged hoses will often have soft spots that aren't visible. Now, because of this, hoses that appear to be okay should be checked by hand. Pay special attention to connections and bends in the hose. It's a good idea to keep examples of good and bad parts handy to help explain these situations to the customer. Whenever possible, show them the damaged components from their own vehicle and explain the problems that could occur should the condition not be repaired. The next step is to recommend the required service to the customer. Of course, if their vehicle checks out okay, this consists of, see you next time. Don't worry, they'll be back. All right, so when should you recommend replacement? When components show signs of damage or have reached their age or mileage limits. A good time to recommend radiator hose replacement is when coolant is being replaced. This generally should be done every 2 to 3 years. And what about those situations where only one belt or hose is bad? Point out how changing all the belts or hoses at the same time can be less expensive, more convenient, and provides added peace of mind when compared to replacing items only when they appear to be damaged. Remember, they'll eventually have to be replaced anyway, and they could break in the meantime. All right, the last step in selling belts and hoses is to ask for the order. Why go through all the trouble to find potential problems on a customer's vehicle only to have them attempt the repair at home or take it to a competitor down the street where they think they can get a better deal? In truth, having belt and hose service performed at your shop is the only logical choice. Consider the alternatives. Only you can offer a supply of original equipment quality Mopar belts and hoses designed especially for their vehicle. Customers attempting to purchase belts and hoses at discount stores or service stations are likely to encounter a bewildering choice. Who knows which one is right? You do. And what if your customer actually buys the correct belt from you and tries to do the job at home or takes it somewhere else? Will they have the proper equipment and the skill necessary to do the job right? Whoa. Also, your customer's here now. Why take time out to make a special trip to have service done elsewhere so that they might save a few pennies? Finally, can your customers' alternatives provide professional service with no surprises?
Whoa, bummer.
I don't think so. The majority of the vehicles on the road today have reached the point where their belts and hoses should be replaced. Have you performed this service for the majority of your customers? If you start tomorrow, no, today, you'll not only be providing your customers with a service they need, you'll be creating business for you and your shop. So get to it. It's easy. Just get your customers' approval for an inspection, make recommendations concerning any problems that might be found, explain the benefits of having the work done here and now, and finally, ask for the order. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Why, hello. We've been expecting to see you.